Hi guys! Today we are going to be bringing my two loves together, theater and television, and talk about what musicals I think should be adapted into live TV productions. So this is going to be in no particular order. I have not been able to decide which one should be the top musical created into a live TV production, so the order is not going to mean anything. And with that, sit back and get ready to learn about the top 5 musicals I think should be adapted into TV live productions. Once on This Island. Once on This Island is a musical I think would be very well and very easily adapted to a small screen. The way it would work is I think they could go to a beach resort or even one of those sets that they use in Hollywood for the island movies, and they could use that for the actual live production as their sets and make it more realistic with actual sand and so on and so forth. The way this musical works, it is more of a storybox storytelling musical. I actually did it in high school, and we didn't have enough characters or people to play the characters, so we had to use a story box and become storytellers and play multiple characters. And I think this would work very well on a small screen. You don't need a huge scale production. You just need a couple different sets. It is a musical that is not as well known and not as well favored. So to get it to work, you would need some big name artists. Now the show, even if they can't get the resort or the actual sand beach that I think it would look wonderful on, it's also one that would work very well on a sound stage, making it very well for television. And I think the storytelling that it uses, the oral storytelling, would work more in a live TV event than in a movie if they were ever going to do anything with it besides a Broadway production. The other concept of the show is, besides the main two love interests, it also has 4 gods in it, and that gives us a chance to bring in older pop artists to make this show more appealing to all ages and appealing to the broad audience and not just theater people like myself. The show may be an older show as well, but it's also one of those shows that can be modernized. I personally don't like the modernized version of it, but they are doing a show, I think it's off-Broadway right now, that is a modernized version of it. And they could bring that version to the stage and it could work, allowing people to connect with it more. Yes, I absolutely hate the version of it. The gods are wearing football jerseys and it just doesn't work in my opinion. But for a TV adaptation, I think it would be a very good way to draw audiences in and a good marketing way to get kids of all kinds to watch this type of musical. Once on This Island would be great because it is an oral type storytelling that can keep little kids connected with the story throughout most of it, but it is also a classic musical, so it is one that can draw in the entire family once they get used to the storyline, as it is a storyline not many people know. But it would also draw in most little kids because it is about an island girl, which is similar to Moana. Yes, that is kind of a long stretch, but if you have a kid that is really into Moana and they see a commercial of this, I think it will draw their attention very easily. American Idiot. American Idiot is a musical my college actually did recently. I wasn't in it, but I was the house and box manager, and I did a story on it for my school's television station, so I do know a good deal about it. American Idiot is one of those musicals that follows 3 different characters. It takes place in a city, and with most versions, and the version my college did, is the set is made up of a bunch of different platforms because you only have one space. I think this would work very well for television because you could condense all the platforms into their own little sets and you could draw people in more to what is going on. Because there are 3 different characters, there are 3 different things usually going on at once. So I think you could have 3 different sets. You could have the set of the friend who stays back home in his living room on a soundstage. You could have the apartment of what's-her-name and the main character on its own little set. You could have the city be one set, and Tunney, who goes off to war, you could have a war set and a hospital soundstage set, and I think it would all work very well. This would also work because you could draw many Green Day fans in to watch this. Many of those kids nowadays are in their 20s, late 20s, early 20s, and would be into a live show like this. American Idiot is one that would, I think, work a lot because most of what they have to do is bring in famous people to take on these roles to draw more audiences in. And with this, a lot of the time, they bring in pop artists, and most of the time you can't go up to a pop artist and say, hey, you're used to singing pop. Now let's do Broadway. In my opinion, that doesn't work a lot of the time. But with a show like this, yes, you probably wouldn't be able to get the original Green Day members in it, but you could get a famous rock artist to come in and play the three main characters, making this show more appealing to younger kids because they will know the rock artists, but also one that will work well and the artist won't be outside of their range, outside of their style, and screwing up what should be good music. The story also has a lot to do with drug abuse and alcoholism, so it may be harder for littler kids to connect with it and make it less of a family show to watch. It would be more of like teens and adults. So the marketing may be a little bit harder, and it'd be harder to get a huge viewing. But it is also one that would be different and I think would draw in people that you normally wouldn't get in those family musicals. And you would be able to make something that is on a stage or just platforms more realistic, more of a show for people who have dealt with this stuff, one that they can easily connect with. And you can draw in any American Idiot fan, any Green Day fan. I'm telling you, this is something they would watch day in and day out. Avenue Q. Avenue Q is one of those shows that is very different. It is, as many people say, Sesame Street for adults. That is the exact reason I think it would work on television. Because they could set it up exactly like Sesame Street. And that's how most of the musical actually is set up. Meaning it would work very well for a small screen. But that would make the marketing very hard and the time slot very hard, because many people would not want their kids watching it. There are songs that have to do with sex, and so on, so forth, drugs, and ideas that you don't want your kids watching. And along with that, many parents who don't know what the show is may not realize that it is not for their children. But it is one of the best shows I've seen done with puppets. And I think puppets work better for the small screen. Avenue Q brings up a lot of topics that not many people want to talk about. We have the song, the internet is for porn, everyone's a little bit racist, so on and so forth. So I think it's a show that is needed at this time, and it would be good topics to bring up. For a live theater event that would usually play at like 8 o'clock, when many kids are still awake, it may not be ideas you want them to see. So it may be one of those shows you need to play a little bit later and get actors that are okay with doing it a little bit later. The problem is you can't bring in many of those top famous people unless you want to teach them all how to use puppets, which they may not be willing to do. Making a show like this harder for viewers that don't really care about theater, willing to watch and take the time to go along with the idea. In the Heights. In the Heights is a musical written and performed, lyrics, music, everything, by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes, he is known for Hamilton. But this was a show that came out before that, and not many people know. So why am I not saying Hamilton? I think that is because so many people are obsessed with it, and it is overdone, that we need something a little bit different. And that brings us In the Heights. And because of Hamilton, everyone would want to watch this. I'm hoping is that if they did In the Heights, they would be able to get Lin-Manuel Miranda to play the main character, now that it is on television. The story of In the Heights is 3 days in Washington Heights. So, with this, the set would be very easy to pull off. It is just the city town area of Washington Heights. It is a story of Lin-Manuel's life, and is more of a realistic story. That's why I think it would work for the small screen. The characters in it look like someone you could meet down the street, your next door neighbor. Yes, they're all Puerto Rican, and that kind of draws into a certain community of people, but I think they'd all be easily connectable. Just like Hamilton in the Heights is one of those musicals that involves rap. It's new types of music. It's a little bit more different. So I think it is one that could bring in younger kids and parents and have them connect together and like the musical. It is one that you can get kids that aren't really into theater in to watch it because of the rap. You could bring in famous rap artists to play some of the characters and get many different types of people to watch it. And as I said before, if you can get Lin-Manuel Miranda to play the main character as he did when it first came out, many people would want to watch this thing. Rap is just very appealing to people today, and theater will bring in every theater kid. So you combine those, you get the theater kids, the kids who love rap, and they will all be watching this one musical that could easily take place on one soundstage if you can recreate this town like they did with the town in Hairspray. Wicked. Yes, Wicked is a very big musical. It is very extravagant. There are many sets, many things happening all over the place. But because it is so big and so well known, I think it would work very well as a live TV adaptation. It is one that would draw in the whole family. It would draw in everyone, kids, adults, grandparents, everyone alike. Along with this, you would not need to search for the stars of this musical. You could bring in the original actors of Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth to redo their roles. And I think that would draw everyone in. They are perfect for their parts, but also very well known. So there is no way they could physically screw it up. It would take a lot of work. They would have to create many different sets. But we've seen that happen before. They've done that. They did that with Grease. Along with this, The Wiz has been done. So it would have some competition. But if pulled off correctly, I think it could be very well and very different from The Wiz, and they wouldn't have to compete with each other. Wicked is also one of those that it may have huge sets, but it doesn't have huge, ginormous dance numbers. It does have things that are more personal and songs that are personal between the characters, like Popular and so on. So you could have scenes where the camera is close up with the characters and you are personally connected with them. Meaning, even though it is so big and extravagant, it would work on a smaller screen. Wicked is one of those shows that have been around for a long time, so many people have seen it. But because of that, I think it would draw in a big audience of many people that haven't seen it in a long time and would love to see it again. It has a very diverse cast of many different personalities. Yeah, it's not many different races, but a diverse cast of many different personalities that I think many different people can connect to, making it a strong candidate for this TV type adaptation. So with that, I hope one day they do make one of these a live TV adaptation. I love this stuff so much. I wish I could work in live theater TV adaptations. And get ready for Rent, coming out in 2019 on TV. It is one thing I can't wait for. And they're supposed to even be doing The Little Mermaid, as ABC is now coming into the live musical experience, meaning we will get a lot more Disney musicals on TV. And I can't wait. So with that, I hope we see one of these musicals on TV at some point in the future.